Good evening, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to you all. I'm Rabbi Shook, in case we've forgotten each other. I am filling in tonight for Rabbi Fader and Rabbi Alper, who are taking some time off with family. That's a great thing. And it gives me an opportunity to be with you and to celebrate Shabbat with you and share some time and a little bit of singing. You'll notice that Rob is not with us. Rob Aronson is not with us tonight. And the reason he's not with us tonight is he's celebrating this Shabbat, his 10th wedding anniversary. And I think it would have been too much to ask that he and his bride celebrate Shabbat with us as opposed to a 10th anniversary Shabbat at home. So we understand that, and I hope he's not watching tonight and is otherwise engaged. It's a delight to be with you all, and we'll just start a little bit of singing, and then we'll get into the service and have, I hope, a meaningful Shabbat experience. The song I was thinking about is Ma Yafeh Hayom, and because it has only 3 words, and I can remember all 3 words. Ma Yafeh Hayom, how beautiful is the day. And then Shabbat Shalom is something that is familiar to us, so we should remember that, okay? And it goes like this. Ma Yafeh Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. 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 Now the hard part. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. Ma Yafeh Hayom. Shabbat Shalom. I invite you all to turn to page 2 in our prayer books, the gates of the, not the gates, excuse me. Anyway, I already forgot the title of the book. Okay, the Siddur. We're going to turn to page 2 in the Siddur for the blessing of the Shabbat candles, and it's my honor to invite Barbara Sandmel to come and bless the candles and assist me in the Kiddush and the Motzi at the beginning of the service. Page 2, or page 3, as you will.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, one day, be those.
Just eager to push the button, and it's creating a spark at the top, and it will light. It is really cool. Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu, lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together, as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Thank you, Reverend. In August of this past year, I spent some time as the chaplain rabbi in residence at the FBI Academy at Quantico, Virginia. And the thought occurred to me that the academy was not going to provide me with a challah for reasons that have nothing to do with Elon Musk or anybody else for that matter. But they were not going to provide me with a challah. So I went on a search and discovery mission and found that within 5 miles of the academy was a shopping center. And in the shopping center was a Walmart grocery store. And in the Walmart grocery store, I found a brioche loaf of bread that was twisted just like a challah. And I saw the twists in the challah, and it reminded me of that brioche challah. I've never had a challah like that in my life. And all of the academy that showed up for services, all 5 of us, we had a wonderful Shabbat beginning with the blessing of the bread. So, l'chaim and b'tei avon. We continue on page. We continue on page 6. And we read responsibly the reading at the bottom of the page. May the door of this synagogue be wide enough to receive all who hunger for love, all who are lonely for friendship. May it welcome all who have cares to unburden, thanks to express, hopes to nurture. May the door of this synagogue be narrow enough to shut out pettiness and pride, envy and enmity. May its threshold be no stumbling block to young or straying feet. May it be too high to admit complacency, selfishness, and harshness. May this synagogue be, for all who enter, the doorway to a richer and more meaningful life. We continue with the hymn Shalom Aleichem on page 24. You can follow it along. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. On page 28, I invite you to rise for the call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai, HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai, HaMevorach, Leolam Vaed. Page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opening the gates, thoughtfully altering time and changing the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. And we continue with the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. And we continue on page 36 with the Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'aderech u'v'shachbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kiroshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem. Page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot, Osef ele, nora tehilot, Osef ele, malechutecha, rahuvanecha, okei hayam, lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze elianu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, Leolam va'ed. On page 42, we read together in the middle of the page, grant, O God, that we may lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and our coming, to life and peace ever know. Baruch atah Adonai, Hapores sukat shalom alenu, va'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. We continue with Tefillah on page 46. Please rise. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agite hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, U'mei Gula Livnei V'nehem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye Hakol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem emunato lishene afar mihamocha bal gevurot umido melech memit umechayem umatzmiach Yeshua v'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye HaKol. Atah Kadosh, you are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please be seated. We continue on page 58, and we read together in the middle of the page, we acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care. We are miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. Continuing with Shalom Rav on page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. B'tov be'enecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. B'chol et u'v'chol sha'a bishlomecha. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rahal Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. We are at that time in our service when we offer a prayer of healing for those in our community, in our world, who are in need of a healing prayer. And so I invite you at this time, if you have a name you'd like to mention out loud in the anticipation of this healing prayer, as I go around the room, if you just say out those names, that would be great, and then we'll add a few names at the end. And to those names that we have in our hearts, we add Eric Ash, Carl Greenberg, Churna Nechama Batchaya Goldalea, Nathan Levinson, Drew Patchen, Joanne Phillips, Marilyn Schlitter, Kennedy Smith, Harriet Snyder, Lisi Weinstein. And we are also adding in our prayers for the American and Israeli hostages, the wounded civilians, and the IDF soldiers and the Israeli people. Misha Berach is found on page 253 in the middle. Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Le'amotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishe berach imotenu mikor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Let us continue a couple of moments in silent meditation, each the thoughts and prayers of our own hearts. Ose shalom bimroma, Uya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. So, when I read Tanakh, when I read the Bible, I'm always looking for the bizarre and the unusual. Well, there's not so much bizarre, but there's a lot unusual that's in the pages of the Bible. And one of those passages has to do with our understanding of Passover. Now, I realize on Sunday, Monday, we dealt with Purim, okay? And Passover's a month away, or a little less than a month away. And so my job here is to make sure that everybody's prepared for it, but I'm not going to do my job. I'm going to help you understand some of the things that surround us, because what I hope to teach you is that our religious tradition has given us a mechanism by which we can talk about that which we don't want to talk about. And it's 3,000 years old of how to address problems that we're uncomfortable talking to other people about. The problems that will get us in trouble. The conversations that will make life difficult for us if people understand what we're actually saying to them. Now here's the passage that I found. It's been a favorite of mine. It's in a book you all know and read, and you probably know it by memory. It's in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 23. You know it all, right? Beginning with verse 23. Now, the reason why I say that is because I have to, use the text here, just so I get it right. And the king commanded all the people, keep the Passover to the Lord your God, as it is written in the book of the covenant. So the king, whose name was Josiah, is saying to the Israelites, keep the Passover as it is written in the book of the Sefer Torah Habrit. Which book of the Bible is that? Well, at the time, we're not supposed to know. We know after the fact, it probably was the book of Deuteronomy. But the text continues, for no such Passover had been kept since the days of the judges who judged in Israel. Let's get this straight. The judges judged in Israel from the end of the Exodus until the time of the first king, King Saul. It's a gap, friends, of about 300 years. Wait a minute. We got out of Egypt. The Passover was described in Tanakh. And here it says in the book of Kings they were being punished because, and going to go into exile, because they hadn't observed Passover for 300 years. Now, some of our families skip Passover once in a while because it's a lot of work. But 300 years not having Passover, what's going on here? And why now all of a sudden are the Israelites rushing around Jerusalem making preparations to observe Passover? Could it have anything to do with the fact that the Egyptians are knocking on their door and about to wage war against them? And that in their weakness, because they've been focused elsewhere, they're not paying attention, and perhaps reminding people about the Exodus from Egypt will help encourage them to gird up for battle. Now this is, I call this the MASH effect, and I'll get in a little bit detail of this, or the Star Trek effect. But you talk about one thing, and what you're really doing is you're talking about something else. We're going to talk about the Exodus from Egypt and what we haven't done, but maybe what we're trying to do is get you ready for something else that's going on. Here's another one. Then Mordecai said to Esther, guess where that one came from? Mordecai said to Esther, do not think to yourself that in the king's palace you will escape more than any of all the other Jews. Most famous passage in the book of Esther. Don't think that because you're living the good life, you're going to escape the fate that's going to become part of the rest of the Jewish community. Now, if you haven't heard this before, it's important to remember that there's only one book that is not represented in any of the Dead Sea Scroll materials. Not a scrap, not a paragraph, not a sentence exists in the Dead Sea Scrolls from the book of Esther. And what does that tell us? Well, because I love to jump to conclusions, it tells me that the book of Esther wasn't written in Persia, and it wasn't about a little Jewish girl who lost her way in the king's palace and became the bride of a non-Israelite king and had to rescue her people. No. It tells me that this story was relatively new. So what was it focused on? The enemy was Persia, or the difficulty was life in Persia. The Jews living in Persia were being persecuted. What's the real story? The location is probably Alexandria in Egypt. If you look at some of the books of the so-called Apocrypha, you find out that there was a very high level of anti-Judaism in Alexandria, Egypt. There was a large Jewish population, so large that they wanted to get a Greek translation of the Torah to teach these Jews in Alexandria about their religious tradition. One of the stories they tell in the Apocrypha is that one of the kings who really despised the Jews wanted to trample all the Jews to death in a stadium under elephants. We don't teach that in Sunday school, by the way. It's not a passage that comes up very often. The story of Esther was a way to help the Jewish community of Alexandria focus on their plight by focusing on an enemy that they weren't facing, Persia. And by the way, Persia was the enemy of Greece. How many times did Greece and Persia fight wars of empire with Darius and the Spartans and all? What was that all about? Why would they talk about Persia when the problem is here, so-called at home in Alexandria in Egypt? Because they couldn't talk about the problem without risking their own security. So when the Greeks in the neighborhood would come over and say, "What are you doing?" "Oh, we're celebrating Purim. We're celebrating the story about this woman who had a problem in Persia." "Oh, if it's about the Persians, it must not be. It's not about us. It's not a problem. We can talk about it." You may not be convinced by what I'm trying to sell you here, okay? But in Passover, it's even more convincing. Rabbi Akiba, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Eliezer ben Azariah, they were all sitting up all night discussing the going out from Egypt. Were they really? What were they doing at this meeting where these who were going to lead a rebellion against Rome and the Roman, what were they doing together, sitting up all night talking about the going out from Egypt? Our tradition is sending us a message. They weren't talking about Egypt. They were talking about the Roman Empire. Rome was a substitute for Egypt, and they were chafing under the serfdom, the slavery that Rome had imposed upon Judea after the destruction of the temple. Talk about an enemy that doesn't threaten Rome, and you can say anything. Oh, those nasty Egyptians. Oh, how we wanted to go out from Egypt and get out from under Pharaoh. Oh, how we wished Pharaoh's army would be drowned in the sea. Are you talking about Romans? No, we're talking about Egyptians. Nothing to do with Rome. The secret giveaway occurs in a very obscure passage in a psalm where a letter is changed and the psalm reads, "The pig of the Nile will devour something or other." And what is a pig of a Nile? What is the pig of the Nile? It's the way that Hebrew describes a hippopotamus. Pig of the Nile. How were the Romans known to the Israelites in Jerusalem? The Roman Empire was known as Chazir HaYor, Chazir HaNahar, the pig of the forest as opposed to the pig of the Nile. And they slip these little changes in, and it's a way of saying within the community, we're okay. We can talk about these things. We just don't go out on the street and advertise them from the street corners. It's a different time and a different place. We had a time in America when we could not talk about racism. So we had Star Trek. We put it centuries into the future, and we could have anything we want. We could have interracial crews. We could have discussions of social issues, and no one would get mad except some stations in the South. But no one would get mad Because this was in the future and it didn't affect us. It wasn't about our own family and our own. We could talk about anything we wanted as long as we put it away, distant from us. This year, when you pick up that Haggadah, God willing, you will pick up a Haggadah. When you pick up the Haggadah, I want you to think of it as a radically political, revolutionary tract, a way for Jews and Judaism to deal with their life experiences without threatening the neighbor, to share information amongst one another in code. Avadim hayinu leFaro, we were slaves to Pharaoh in the land of Egypt. But God brought us out with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. So may it be. Shabbat Shalom. Our service continues on page 286. 282. Thank you for keeping me in track. Okay. 282, please rise for the Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach le'adon hakol, lo teit gedula li'otzeh v'reshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'chol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Please be seated. Continuing on page 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. When we all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. V'n'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yehye Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Our meditation before Kaddish is found at the top of page 291. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words. And what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world. In each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended, brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. On this Shabbat, we recall the names of those taken from us in recent days, and our hearts go out to their families as we recall their names in love. Esther Berger, Dorothy Meyerson, Ida Machen. And we also recite the names of those, the anniversary of whose death their yahrzeit occurs on this Shabbat, and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the Wall of Honor or perpetual memorial. Teresa G. Agatstein, Marguerite Strecker-Bayer, Hyman Baskin, Irvin Bettman Sr., Belle Blau, Esther Offenbach-Book, Alita Z. Canis, Charlotte Solotkin-Chasen, Bella Cohen, Anna Kotler, Jerome Davis, Dorothy Henrietta Dolgen, Dr. Clarence Theodore Eckert, Martin Feist, Ronald Fenster, Morris Fishman, Samuel L. Fox, Bertha C. Frensdorf, Ida Vetzberg-Friedheim, Ann Steiner-Friedman, Carrie Glazer, Julius Glazer, Stella Summers Glazer, Harold E. Goldberg, Martin H. Goldberg, Cecilia Goldman, Dr. Leo Gottlieb, First Lieutenant Philip Graham, who died in the service of our country, John Julius Greenberg, John J. Hamilton, Jr., Rose Schwartz Hirsch, Lieutenant Lionel M. Herman, who died in the service of our country, Sadie Pill Jacobson, Arthur Jungmann, Ernestine Kahn, Emily T. Landauer, Amy K. Lears, David Solomon Levine, Ellis A. Levine, Emma Berg Lowenstein, Samuel Magis, Emil Manny, Bernard Miller, Mildred Bluestein Newman, Saul L. Nymark, Ida S. Platt, Dr. Louis John Posener, Shirley Raffan, Mitzi Ruth Reiser, Ned Roberts, Max Edward Robkin, Dr. Arthur S. Rosenfeld, Harriet Spire Rostenberg, Ruth Ann Rubin, Scott Runyon, Dina Sachs, Jean Sachs, Moisey Samoilovich, Harold Sandmill, Michelle Leon Sandmill, Harry Shash, Ida Schechter, Sadie Reichman Schukart, Sidney Schrag, Alvin Circus, Pauline Silver, David Silverman, Walter J. Skranka, Anna Hendon Steinbach, Yetta Stromfeld, Edward N. Tepper, Ira L. Wagner, Arthur Michael Waschauer, June Sacker Folman Weil, Dr. Albert G. Weiss, Gertrude M. Weiss, Richard Julian Wolfheim, Manuel Yanow, Morton L. Zalk, Dr. William B. Zellick, together with those whom we name in our hearts as we turn to words of Kaddish on page 294, and we stand together as one congregation. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye echon v'yom echon, u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam elalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudsha b'richu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and bring comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say together, Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen. Shabbat shalom to you all. Shalom.